No, I'm the designer, the builder, and the maintainer of the gardens. Maintainer, I guess that's a word, I don't know. At least I do the maintenance. And that's principally been my job for 13 years now. And hopefully it'll continue for many more years. Nothing exciting. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, December 1st, 1927. That's ancient time now, ancient. And I lived there until 1953, when I first came here. My neighborhood was a poor neighborhood, and hardly anybody went to school. In my high school, I don't think more than a couple dozen went to high school, and it was one of the largest classes in the state, actually, who graduated. I got in a technical program, and technical prepared you for different jobs in factories, Cleveland having a lot of factories and things. So I decided to specialize, major in mechanical drafting equipment, machinery, and all kinds of things like that. Then I decided that I would go in graduate school into cartography. So that's when I came here to Illinois, because they were offering cartography at that time. And I was here 2 months, and I was hauled out of the Army, because it's at the end of the Korean War. And I told the draft board that I was coming here, being dutiful to change my address and this kind of stuff. And I never heard a word from them. And I assumed that I was okay to go to grad school. As soon as I came here and they got my address, they noted, you have to go in the Army. Yeah. So I had to drop here. I appealed for that and didn't do any good. So April 1st, April Fool's Day, I went into the Army. And the war ended while I was in basic training for the Korean War, so I was lucky to miss all of that. So at that time, the war had ended, but they sent me to Tokyo and I talked myself into a wonderful job, even though I was a lowly private right at the bottom, but I had a sergeant's job of supervising 10 Japanese draftsmen. And they were making the maps, I was supervising. So to me, it was a wonderful job I had in Japan while I was there. And I had lots of time on weekends, and a couple of official time offs to take trips around the country a little bit. So I did see the country, the middle third, quite thoroughly, and became totally enamored with Japan, and liked the culture very much. At that time, I certainly didn't know much about it, but and I only saw a few gardens, only in Tokyo. Other places, you'd see a little things, but I wasn't into gardens at all. But I liked what I had seen. But I was very active. At that time, I still was active in geology and mentally. Being a volcanic island, I went to climb Fuji, of course, and climbed a couple of active volcanoes, some of them quite dangerous, being right down into the center of the craters, and things like that. But I did a lot of hiking in the mountains there, the Japanese Alps, they call them, and stayed in inns all the time, because the Japanese inns were the only thing cheap and the only things readily distributed around the country. Now hotels are everywhere, and inns are very expensive, but at that time the inns were extremely cheap. And so just going around, talking with the people, seeing them and everything, I just absorbed that. And I said, when I got back, after my graduation here, working full time, I said, I'd like to have something that's Japanese as a house, something that's a garden. So that's basically how it started. And my land, my property that I bought for the house on South First Street is about 6/10 of an acre. That's quite a bit of land. And I had to fill it up with something, so I filled it up with Japanese garden for the most part. And so that's the beginning of that garden. And with 13 years work before I started here, I had plenty of experience of what to use in plants and how to maintain them, all this kind of stuff. Because my garden at home has got a pond, it's got a mandarin stream through it, it has the woods that I built, and hills, all of this big on a flat, what was once flat cornfield. And I modified that completely, so it is quite different. So, right now, here at Japan House, yes, the gardens around are finished. They're growing, they're almost mature, at least the trees will say. I should point out that the gardens that we have around here now were really basically done by students. The gardens were built by students. I'm proud of that because some were hired, some were just volunteered, want to work on this, not knowing anything about gardening, not knowing anything about Japanese gardens, but they wanted to be involved. And now with the stroll garden and walking garden, we're talking about a really serious garden. And I still think the garden can be built by students. All that. So what's out there right now is exactly the way you'll find it in Japan. And it's repeatedly done that way. As are other things, like the bamboo fencing, using black rope to tie the bamboo together. There's certain knots they used to give that attractive appearance to the ends of the knots coming down. And you don't just tie any old knot. They have a definite tie, and I've done that with these fences here, so it is correct to that. So that's the next project. Now I understand part of that is I have a bridge planned, and from my understanding there is money for that bridge. That bridge I thought might be built this fall, there was talk of it, but most likely next spring. And then the island possibly might be landscaped. This is still up in the air about that. Well, that is the beginning of the stroll garden. I had planned way back, a good 5-10 years I think, a part of the stroll garden is an iris garden. Now, iris are used very, very nicely in Japanese gardens. They use only the one kind, their own Japanese iris. They grow here, but not as well as other iris. So I decided that instead of just a single type of iris, I would have every kind of iris that would grow in the Midwest like this, and more varied. That way you can have blooming iris from spring all the way through fall and summer, blooming all the time. And I've designed that, I have that ready to go, and possibly we might get that going again too, so I don't know. But anyway, that's the future, to do the stroll garden. And to build that garden entirely would take, I would say, at least 3 to 5 years, probably, anyway. And so I do feel that if my fans are enjoying the gardens, that makes me feel very, very good. And that's the real purpose of a garden, to enjoy the gardens. So I'm happy that people enjoy it. Well, let's go into the tea garden. When a guest is invited in for a tea ceremony, they go through this path up to the waiting bench, where they are invited in by the host or the hostess. They come through the outer garden first, which is part of where the waiting bench is located. And they are invited in by the host or hostess, go past the gate which divides the outer garden from the inner garden, and you pause at the water basin, where you take a little sip of water and rinse your fingers lightly, symbolically, before you go into tea room for tea ceremony. But this is the inner garden, which is a big contrast with the outer garden. Outer garden being more formal and more evergreen, whereas the inner garden is more deciduous and more loosely pruned. And I'm giving it a more wild effect, as if you were up in the mountains someplace, or deep in a valley someplace that is away from civilization. This being the woods here, with a lot of shade-loving plants. In the springtime, there are ferns, hostas, a whole variety of plants that give it a more lush feeling in the springtime. Every Japanese garden must have water in it. Tea garden has the water basin, or tsukubai. But here, we have no water, at least represented, except by gravel. So when you look at this gravel, it can be a pond, a lake, an ocean, whatever your imagination carries you. And then the rest of it is, or behind us, is a mountain range or hills. And then behind that are high bayberries, which are slowly being pruned eventually into suggesting clouds. So it's a very simple garden. And around the rocks, around the perimeter of the pond or lake, waves are coming up in a pattern. And that is a type of dry garden. There are many different sizes of these gardens, most of them on the small size. Some are more formal, square, or rectangular. This one is a more free form.
Good afternoon. I am very happy to present to you our third session Ganbaru Tea, which will be coming to you all the way from Boulder, Colorado by Dario Aranguiz. Dario started his tea practice in the spring of 2015 while he was a student of University of Illinois majoring in electric engineering. He continued to study tea with us even after his graduation and started working for a local company in 2017. In the fall of 2018, he decided to have leave of absence from his company in order for him to further his study of tea and enrolled in a very special tea institution at the headquarters of the Rasenki Tea School in Kyoto, Japan. After studying there for a year, he returned to Champaign last fall, and soon after that, he was hired by Apple Company and moved to Colorado. However, thanks to the modern technology, we are still able to closely connect and communicate with him quite often. Although his major was electric engineering, but he was one of the most serious students I have had. He hopes he would make the best use of tea to become a well-rounded human being. In the future, he wants to establish his own dojo, a training facility, and name it Shin Shin Dojo, which means a place to discipline both body and kokoro. He will be presenting chabako tsukidemai from his studio apartment using his collection of tea utensils. This is one of the most intricate chabako demai and quite intriguing and beautiful. He will be dedicating his tea to all of you. After his presentation, he will explain the hanging scroll statement he chose for today and also explains some of the tea implements he used for his tea procedures. Then he will share how he is making use of tea in his life and how he incorporates tea spirit in his technological world.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining today. Today I'll be doing a procedure called tsuki demai, which literally means moon procedure. And this is one of the versions of chabako, so we'll be making tea out of the box. If anyone has matcha, or if you have loose tea, or even coffee or hot chocolate, and you wanted to prepare that with me, by all means. If you had a sweet tooth, that'd be great. So hopefully we can enjoy a bowl of tea together. Thank you. If you have a sweet, please go ahead. The table today was aokaide. It means green maple leaves. And we see this motif often in Japan during the hot summer months. Where I live, it's still pretty hot. So hope it gives you a feeling of coolness. I will now finish. Oshimai itashimasu. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hey everybody, thank you again so much for joining us for Tamai today. So today I wanted to talk about a few different things, but first I thought I'd start by talking about chabako, so the tea procedure that we did today. The one that I did today in particular is called tsuki damai, which literally translates to moon procedure. And so this is typically done during the autumn. It's considered to be kind of elegant and refined. Oftentimes you have incense involved, you have this feather that you wipe, and it kind of sets itself apart from other chabako that you might see. But at the end, it's still all the same. It's still chabako. So ultimately, chabako, meaning tea box, is you're still producing tea from a box. You're using it to go outside, to be portable, and to share tea with friends. And one of the reasons that I personally love chabako is because you can be so creative. So throughout the day today, you'll see lots of different kinds of tea, and you'll see some people even doing chabako using equipment from their home. So just going through cabinets and cupboards and trying to find things that they can use to do tea with. And so my chabako is in a similar vein. I've tried to collect as many different things as I could from around the world just as I've traveled, and I try to find things that I can use for chabako. So for example, the furidashi, so the sweets container that I put out at the very beginning, that's actually from Finland. And that was made by a Finnish artist who had nothing to do with tea. And likewise, the chakin container. So a chakin is that white cloth that we use to wipe the tea bowl. That container is actually from Taiwan. So that was from a market in Taiwan, and that's used as part of sencha, so as part of a steeped tea. And when you're making steeped tea, you can pour a little bit of your steeped tea into this container to have a little taste of it. So completely repurposed. And likewise, the fabrics that I used. So in particular, the pouch that held the chashaku, that held the tea scoop, and also the square cloth that I put underneath the tea bowl. Those two are both from Myanmar, and they were sewn as part of a charity project for helping a school in Myanmar that I received while I was in Japan. And so it doesn't have to be all far-flung across the world either. Taking things a little bit more local, going to Boston, the kensui, so the used water container that I kept by my side, kind of hidden from the camera, that's actually used for eating crab. So when you're at a restaurant and you have to put your crab shells somewhere, you put it in this, and it's perfect size. And then likewise, even closer to home is this board right here. So this board, it's a slate board that I literally bought at my supermarket that is 5 minutes away from me walking. And it's supposed to be used for charcuterie, just like a cheese board. But it works so well. So that's one of the things I love about chabako, is you can be creative. And especially during times of COVID-19, we are really forced to be creative in ways that we didn't anticipate that we would have to. In the sake of doing tea, oftentimes we're so used to going to our teacher's house or going to Japan House and using their equipment, but we don't have that, so we have to be creative. And so, pursuant to that, chose this jiku for today, this scroll. And this scroll says Masangin. So, Masangin literally means 3 caddies of hemp. And the reason for that, where this comes from, is there's a story of 2 monks. So a monk and his abbot, the abbot of the temple. And the monk asks the abbot, what is a monk? So he asks him, what is the essence of a monk? And the abbot responds to him, simply 3 caddies of hemp. So unpacking that a little bit, hemp is what is used traditionally to make a monk's robes. And in particular, 3 caddies of hemp is sufficient to make a full set of a monk's robes. And so there are lots of different interpretations. What that tells me is that you don't need a lot to do the things that you want to do. So particularly in the practice of tea, so often we get bogged down by thinking, I don't have the right kettle, I don't have the right heater, I don't have the right tea container. But as we've been seeing now, especially with COVID-19, you don't need much. You can really find things. You can find things from around the world. You can find things from just in your home. You have so many options. And of course, that doesn't just stop at tea. So, it's okay to be creative. And lastly, Gunji Sensei, I think she mentioned as well that I was an engineer. So by trade, I'm a software engineer. And that really has nothing to do with tea. At least at the face of it, has nothing to do with tea. But interestingly, we found that at Japan House, we get so many engineers coming, not only just for public teas and public demonstrations, but also to actually join and learn and study under Gunji Sensei. So we've thought about this a lot, and we've wondered why, what is it about tea and engineers that work so well together? And so we've thought, is it because engineers are great at following rules? Is it because engineers like things that are just so, things that go in this spot and then this spot and everything as a home? Is that why? Maybe. Those things could all be true, but I would put forward maybe something else. This is maybe a bold claim, but I think tea and technology have nothing to do with each other. Actually, nothing. In technology, and of course lots of other professions add this as well, but with technology, it's so fast-paced, you're constantly trying to squeeze out efficiency. It's all about optimization and doing things quickly. But tea is so much the opposite of that. Tea is about slowing down. And tea is about getting together with friends and not thinking about the rest of the world, and just letting your little space right here become your world for the next few hours. And so I think those two being so antithetical is actually why they work so well together. I think people who do technology, such as myself, engineers, other people in fast-paced jobs, really need what tea has to offer. So, speaking for myself, since I moved to Colorado, now I kind of have to do things on my own, and I still find ways to interact with tea, and that's so important. Sometimes I make tea in the morning, sometimes I just think about the scroll that I have up for the day. Little things, just small things, but keeping in touch with tea and always finding a time to relax and enjoy yourself and not think about anything else. That is so important. And there are lots of things that offer that, but tea is a wonderful vehicle for it. So if you're an engineer, or if you are anybody, and you live in town and you haven't been to Japan House yet, I so highly recommend it. So with that, ganbatte Japan House. It's all yours.
That was so nice. Thank you so much, Dario, for sending that tea ceremony for us all the way from Colorado. Dario has a special place in our heart. He moved to Japan this summer and then came back for a short amount of time, and then we miss him, but it's wonderful to be able to see our students from all over the world this afternoon and today sharing tea ceremony with you. We still do have 2 tea ceremonies coming up. Jeffrey, who you've seen with me during different times of the day, is one of our interns as well as a tea student, and he will be doing a particular style of tea, which is a seated style, out on our beautiful deck here at Japan House. And then to finish out the day, we have a very special tea ceremony for you planned. I wanted to give everybody an update. I am so excited. In fact, I just got chills as the kind of came through me what's happening right now. I checked our giving portal the very last time that I just checked. We are very close to meeting our goal today. We had 78 out of 88 donors, and so that means we just need 10 more people who love Japan House, who really want to support Japan House and continue to see what we do here at Japan House in the community still be able to go on. Those 78 people have donated $15,250, and that is just unbelievable to me. We really are just amazed by the support that we're getting today. Matsuri is always such a way for everybody to give to each other, and just the fact that everybody's giving back to us this year, and we're able to put together a pretty good sized fund for next year, as well as our regular fundraising efforts that we'll do for everybody. But what we promise is next year's Matsuri with the money that we raise is going to be even better than we've ever had before. So thank you. I do want to read out a couple of names. We have Felix Wang, Brenda Pacey, Matthew McComber, Josh Herbold, AJ Hildebrand, Kate Hacker, Terry Noto, Nancy Probst, Seth Fine, Melissa Hang, Melissa Seng, and Greg and Marco Likens. We do want to thank everybody. We have a couple of other anonymous donors, and we want to thank those people too. They just didn't want their name out on the list. And then if you go to the portal today, it's actually kind of interesting. I didn't realize this was going to be happening, but there's a little map, and the map shows all the places around the country and all the places around the world where people have donated from. I'm just looking at this map. We have people donating from Georgia, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, Washington, D.C., Rhode Island, Maine, and China. And so we're very excited, all the people around the world that love Japan House and continue to support us. Wanted to give you a little update on some of the gifts and some of the things that we have coming for people who do donate today and tomorrow. We're going to keep the portal up all the way through tomorrow night, Sunday night. Monday morning, we're going to come in. All those names get put into a raffle, and we're going to be picking out some wonderful prizes. I have a couple more here I'd like to show you. Earlier today, we stopped by one of our vendors, Prairie Fruits Farm. They donated this wonderful little chippy towel for us. I own this personally, and I took some of these to Japan. When you visit Japan, you always have to take little gifts with you. It's very important. And I decided to take things that were local and meant a lot to me. So I actually took some of this and some handmade local soap. And believe me, when all my Japanese friends opened this gift, they just loved chippy. And this is one of the best towels that you'll ever buy. It's very soft and absorbent. So this will be going out to one of our donors. I have some things from Avionics. They are the coffee shop on First Street. You saw something about them today. They have donated quite a few little gift cards. We have some fun stickers in here, as well as an awesome shirt. I love their shirts. Their logo is really cool. And so they've donated these to us today. So if anybody donates on the portal from now through tomorrow night, you get entered into a drawing. And I believe there's a gift card in here too. Bodyworks was amazing. Bodyworks, they donated quite a few gift cards that let people be able to come and get some healthful maintenance. If you've never been to Bodywork, it is amazing. The people that work on you there and the owner Doug, it's very important, health and wellness. And so they actually donated quite a few different gift cards, and we decided to make it even more special for the person that's winning this one and some of the incense that we burn here at Japan House on the daily, green tea and then sandalwood. So this person's going to get a nice little pack, whoever this is. And then we do have some other items that Japan House, we always have fun things around here. This one is called the Lucky Set. And Daruma is one of the things that are considered very lucky in Japan. This is a little Daruma keychain that one of our interns made. We also have a Pokemon prize box. You don't know what's in here. And then also this cute little lucky cat purse somebody's going to win today. So these are all kind of fun. There's everything from art to these little fun objects that you can win anytime that you donate. So we want to thank everybody who has donated today. Hopefully you guys were able to enjoy earlier. I do understand that we had a little bit of some glitches with our filming during the Wagashi section. So if you did not get to see that because of the switch, don't worry. We are going to be putting these hours online probably next week, so you'll be able to see it. But I did want to go back to the Wagashi cookbook. This is a cookbook that we made in-house here by our sensei, Kimiko Gunji. She worked for many years on this cookbook. her daughter, our director, Jennifer Gunji Balsrud, then designed it. It was a labor of love. I took pictures, several people here took pictures, and we had to test the recipes, which darn, right? We had to test all these wonderful recipes. Several, probably 100 recipes in here, I don't know exactly, a couple hundred pages, beautiful photography. And the thing that's really important about this book, you can buy it on our website and on our shop, is that it has ingredient substitution. So we all know we're not in Japan, but if you want to try something fun, wagashi is a really fun, easy art form, easy, so to speak, but there's different levels for everybody to get involved. And so we just want to have everybody go shop our website if you can, if you need some matcha. Coming up here in just a minute, we are going into our 4 o'clock hour, and the next thing that we are going to be doing is we're going to be bouncing back with Tangerine Mountain. Every year they come and they provide such a great variety of objects, as well as kimono and yukata. And so here's a nice little shout out for Tangerine Mountain up in Chicago. Please visit their website.